25 years ago, I was in detox for my crack addiction and alcoholism. I was also in legal trouble. Early on, I wasn't sure I was going to make it. At some point, I saw clearly that my addiction had destroyed my life as I had known it. With nothing more to lose, I decided I would do my best to stay clean. I started with one day. You too can start with a day, then a week, a month, a year. I've been clean now for 25 years. This is my silver anniversary. I'm not bragging, just sharing.
It's been a long, long road, and the hills were so high, and the nights cold and lonely, until I finally realized it's not just for me, it's for my friends and my family that I'm still clean.
I am the granddaughter of Thomas Henderson. I'm here to celebrate my grandfather's 25th year anniversary of staying clean and sober. Ladies and gentlemen, your friend and my grandfather, Thomas Henderson.
Well, hello everybody. My name is Thomas Henderson. I'm an alcoholic. It's been an interesting ride for these 25 years. 9,125 days since I've had a drink or a drug in my body. Tonight here in Austin with my family and friends, I get to talk about this again. Not about the problem. Everybody knows I drank too much and too often, did cocaine, went to jail, screwed up my career in the National Football League. Problems. And so tonight we're talking about alcoholism, drug addiction, and recovery. So 25 years, I've been able to really live a great life and have great friends.
I met Thomas in 1975 when he was a part of what they consider today the best draft that the Dallas Cowboys ever held, the Dirty Dozen. Yes, sir. And it didn't take long to get to know one of the Dirty Dozen, Thomas Henderson. I played 15 years for Dallas and saw a lot of players come and go, and I can honestly say that Thomas is the most gifted, talented athlete I've ever had the experience of playing with. Thank you, John. And I played with a lot of great players.
At 10 years clean, I had already done a lot of work on my life. One of the things I did was make amends to my boss, Coach Tom Landry. Here is what he said at my 10-year anniversary.
You know, the first time that I heard about Thomas was when we sent one of our best scouts up to see him. Griff went up to see him one time. He was supposed to be scrimmaging that day. And so Griff went up to Langston and walked out on the sideline, and the scrimmage was going on, and he was looking all over the place for Thomas. Couldn't find Thomas anyplace. And finally, he was standing there looking for him, and here comes Thomas. He walks up with his clothes on, not his uniform. He walks up and says to Griff, he says, "Would you like to see me scrimmage?" And of course, Griff said, Griff was scared because he didn't want the coach to be, upset the coach. And he said, and Thomas said, "Wait a minute." So he runs over, goes in the dressing room, puts on his uniform, comes out, puts himself into the scrimmage, makes 3 or 4 or 5 good plays, comes back to Griff and says, "Have you seen enough?" Boy, right there, I should have not drafted him. I tell you. It would have saved me a lot of problems, boy, through the years. I remember when Thomas was in prison out in California, and we were then having drug seminars with the coaches. And one statement he made, what I thought was devastating, and I was really concerned about it, was he said that about 98%, of the people in here on drugs, will be back on by the time a year has passed. So you can say that Thomas has made a tremendous turnaround, in his life. And it's worthwhile. And this is a thing that excites me when I see what Thomas has done. We can say he's Hollywood, and we can say he talks a lot and anything, but when a guy does what he does, he has a great heart. And that's awful important in life. He cares about people. And Thomas, I just hope you continue the great work that you do. And boy, I tell you, I wish I'd have had you all through your career. We may have had 7 or 8 Super Bowls before it was over with. But thank you a lot for inviting me and be a part of tonight. Thank you very much.
I was raised in an alcoholic home. Saw my parents drink, saw people get drunk, saw drugs used on the streets. I saw all these things. And me, Thomas, thought that maybe drinking was going to be a part of my life growing up. I was going to drink because that's what adults did, even if I tried to do it early as a teenager. I was reading the paper the other day and saw that Budweiser sold for $58 billion. And I thought, damn, that's a lot of drinking. $25 billion was spent on beer last year. Now, everybody doesn't end up alcoholic or drug addicted, but some of us do. I happen to be one of those people. I was thinking, though, recently, I thought that Bill Clinton said he smoked but didn't inhale. And then George W. Bush said, hell, I just drank it all. And I read The Audacity of Hope by Barack Obama, and he tried and used cocaine and marijuana and other drugs. So with that information with me now, tonight I'm announcing my candidacy for President of the United States of America. I'm so proud to be an American. But we live in a chemical world that you take something for everything, don't you? I mean, they got something for you. For a headache, they got something for you. For a heartache, they got something for you. If you feel good, they got something so you don't feel so good. Manic depressives, they got something that if you're manic depressive, they can work with you. If you're depressed, they got something. If you're happy, if you're just so god dang happy, they got something to take the smile off your face. For your back, your neck, for your feelings. And so this chemical world, for some of us who live in this world, we connect with, start relationships with substances, and we get in trouble. There's the big argument in the medical field, is alcoholism a disease? I don't know, but I know it's a problem. I know it's a problem when you lose your family. I know it's a problem when you lose your family and your job, your money, your freedom, your self-respect.
I met him first when we were both sitting in detox. He was the patient and I was the doctor. The minute we met, I could see him. Here's a guy who was hopeless, homeless, helpless, and penniless. So I said, look, for guys like you, let me give you the mantra straight up front. If you stay sober, anything is possible. If you don't stay sober, nothing is possible. I saw him learning in his recovery. You see, you guys are a little misled about this 12-step business. It's not a self-help program as much as it is a mutual help program.
In 1982, in May of 82, I woke up in Care Unit Hospital in Orange County, which at that time was run by Dr. Joseph Persh, who's with us here tonight. 30 days later, I was discharged, and I don't know why I made a promise to myself I was going to go back to that hospital in a year. and go back and kind of visit the hospital, remember I was there, kind of take stock of where I was. And I walked back to Dr. Percy's office, and I expected him to say, "Robert, how are you?" and all that. And I walked in his office, he said, "Robert, I'm glad you're here. I've got a Texan you need to talk to." And I mean, that was it. And he took me down to Thomas's room, and he kind of shoved me in the room and closed the door. And I must have misunderstood him. I thought he said he had a Texan he wanted me to talk to, and what I think he really said was he had a Texan he wanted me to listen to. I spent well over an hour with Thomas that night, and I don't think I said 10 words. At any rate, I connected with him that night. We've had a lot of fun, and I tell people I never get too far away from AA because I talk to Thomas 2 or 3 times a week.
In order to stay clean and sober, one of the most important things you have to do is that after treatment, you continue to go to the 12-step meetings and try to build a fellowship around you, have a support group that keeps you sober one day at a time. When I first met Thomas, I was at a meeting, a 12-step meeting in Newport Beach, California. And I had heard about Thomas, and I had read about Thomas and his prison stay. And at this meeting that night, as a matter of fact, 22 years and 34 days ago was that night in Newport Beach. And I was 34 days sober, and Thomas was taking a 3-year anniversary. And obviously, I wanted to stay clean and sober, and 3 years at that time seemed like an awful long time. And one of the things I do, I work with youth also, and Thomas helped me get into public speaking. And there's 2 things we need to have in sobriety, and that is, 1, we need humility, and 2, we need personal accountability. And Thomas helped me learn both of those things in his own unique way.
I got a few shots to take at Thomas, but before I do that, I want to make one thing very, very clear that I remember on a daily basis. The reason I'm here today is because of this man. I am proud, and I will tell anybody that listens, and even if they don't, he saved my life. A lot of what I've learned from Thomas is through example. He sets a beautiful example. He never gives me directives. He always makes suggestions. I want answers, and he makes suggestions. If it hadn't been for Thomas and all the times he pissed me off, my life wouldn't be nearly as good as it is today. And for that, I am truly grateful.
You know, some of the things that I've done in my life have been extraordinary. To know that a man can be really, really successful, but his relationship with chemicals could really affect him so harshly that he loses his career, his self-respect. He loses his family and his friends, and he loses his treasure because he drank too much, too often, too much. You know, I don't care who drinks, but I just know that while I'm sitting watching somebody have a glass of wine, I'm thinking about a barrel of wine. You sitting there drinking a beer, and I'm thinking about a keg. I am just wired different from other people. And it took me down, and it took me down hard. But here we are, 25 years later, and that man over there, Dr. Joe Purse, said something real simple to me. He said, "Thomas, anything is possible if you stay clean. Nothing is possible if you don't." Right there, I grabbed onto something. I like that part about anything is possible. The second thing that happened was when I was in the worst trouble in my life, I got on the phone with Roger Staubach, a good man. By all measures of men in the history of